The stars were quiet in that part of the galaxy. Too quiet. They called it the dead zone. A dark, empty area where no light moved, no signals returned, and no ships ever came back. It had no planets, no suns, no signs of life, only silence. For years, alien empires tried to pass through it. Some wanted to explore it. Others wanted to cross it as a shortcut during wars. Every time they sent a fleet in, it vanished. No wreckage, no messages, not even a distress signal. It was as if the ships had never existed at all. Some said it was a natural void, a place where physics broke down. Others believed it was alive, a giant creature in space that fed on metal and mines. A few said it was a weapon built by a race long gone. Whatever it was, one thing was clear. No one came back. Then the humans came. They had heard the warnings. The other species told them clearly, stay away. This place eats everything. Even the strong Zorath war fleets disappeared without a trace. The Krell Empire lost 600 ships in one try. Gone. No logs, no survivors. And yet, humanity decided to go in. One ship. Just one. The Horizon Breaker was an old Earth battleship. It was no longer shiny or new. Its outer hull was scratched, dark from battles, patched many times. It had fought in the Solar Uprising, the War of the Rings, and the Siege of Vega Prime. It had survived when better ships had fallen. Its captain, Calder Voss, was the kind of man who didn't speak much, but when he did, people listened. He wasn't young anymore. His hair was mostly gray, his body marked by old wounds. But his eyes were sharp, always thinking. He stood in the command room of the Horizon Breaker, looking at the black edge of the dead zone on the screen. Around him, the crew worked quietly. Some were nervous. Others tried to hide it. But all of them knew this might be their last mission. The mission was simple. Enter the zone, find out what's inside, and send back anything, data, images, anything at all. If they failed, Earth would block the zone forever. Calder turned to his crew. No one forced you to come here. If any of you want to leave, do it now. Once we go in, there's no turning back. No one moved. All right, he said. Take us in. Gopper. Engines hummed. Lights blinked. Slowly the Horizon Breaker moved forward, crossing the invisible line into the dead zone. The moment they passed the border, everything changed. The stars outside vanished. Not dimmed, disappeared. There was only blackness beyond the windows. Space felt heavy, like something was pressing against the ship. The ship's lights flickered once, then steadied. All systems holding, said Lena, the young engineer. She was the youngest on the crew, smart and brave, but right now, her hands were shaking a little. No signal outside the zone, said the comms. Officer. We've lost contact with command. Calder nodded. Expected. He walked to the window and stared out at the darkness. Let's see what eats fleets. For the first hour, nothing happened. The ship floated forward, engines low. The sensors showed strange readings. Gravity pulled in odd directions, temperatures shifted for no reason, and some areas outside were simply unreadable. Then, they saw the first wreck. A massive alien ship, broken in half, floated slowly in the dark. Its pieces drifted apart like bones in black water. It looked frozen in time, not destroyed by weapons, but twisted from the inside like it had tried to pull itself apart. What happened to it? Someone whispered. Looks like it was running from something, said Lena. But it didn't make it. They moved closer. Light scanned the wreck. There were no bodies, no damage from guns or missiles, just pure chaos. It's like it was torn apart by fear, the doctor said. That doesn't make sense. Fear can't break metal. Maybe it can here, Calder replied. Suddenly the ship's lights blinked again. Then the screen showed something. A signal. Weak. Repeating. They listened. It wasn't a voice. Not words. Just a slow, steady pulse and like a heartbeat. Boom. 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 Each beat sent a strange feeling through the ship, like something ancient was watching, waiting. Where's it coming from? Calder asked. Lena checked the system. Deep inside the zone. We're heading right toward it. He nodded. Keep going. Hours passed, the crew grew quiet. Some whispered to each other. One man swore he saw something move outside the window. Another heard a voice in the hallway, but no one was there. They reached another shipwreck. Then another. Dozens. All alien. All twisted, floating, silent. And then something new. A structure. Bigger than anything they had ever seen. Not a ship. Not a planet. Just something. It looked like a machine, but with no clear shape. It stretched across space like a giant web made from pieces of every ship that had entered before. This thing, it's built from the wrecks, Lena said. It's building itself. Or something is building it, Calder replied. They sent out a drone. The drone flew close, scanning. Inside the structure it found tunnels, lights, movement, but no life signs. Then it sent back one clear image. On a metal wall, scratched in deep marks, was a message. Not in alien language, but in English. It is alive. Everyone went silent. Who wrote that? The doctor asked. No human ship's been here before, Lena said. Calder leaned closer to the screen. Unless one didn't come back. The signal returned, louder now. The heartbeat faster, boom, 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 boom. The walls of the horizon breaker creaked, lights dimmed, and then everything stopped. Total silence. No engines, no power, no screens. Darkness. The crew sat in the dark for a full minute, breathing, waiting. Then a light flicked on. One screen lit up, just one. It showed an image, a human face, eyes black, mouth open, no sound. Then it spoke. You should not have come. The screen went black again. Lena jumped from her seat. That wasn't a recording. That was live. Calder stood still. His voice was calm, but cold. Get power back, now. One by one, the systems returned. The engines worked, lights returned, but something had changed. The ship felt different. Colder. Quieter. We're not alone on this ship anymore, Lena whispered. The crew checked everything. Systems were fine. Weapons online. But the feeling didn't go away. Calder walked through the hallways. He looked into every corner. He listened. He waited. He stopped by a window. Outside, floating in space, was a human escape pod. Old, damaged, but real. They pulled. And inside was a body, human, worn-out uniform, skin pale, a recording device clutched in their hand. Calder played the file. The voice was weak, shaking. If you find this, don't go further. It sees everything. It becomes everything. It doesn't want metal. It wants minds. It speaks in thoughts, and it's already inside you. Static, then silence. Lena looked at Calder. What do we do now? He didn't answer for a moment. Then he said, We finish what we started. The ship moved slowly through the dark. Outside there were no stars, no planets, and no light. Just the deep black of the dead zone. The crew stayed quiet. Even the machines seemed to make less sound than before, like they were afraid of being heard. No one said it out loud, but they all felt it. Something was near them, watching, waiting. Inside the control room, Captain Calder Voss stood in front of the screen, his eyes fixed on the strange structure ahead. It was massive, a floating shape made from broken pieces of ships. Alien designs, sharp metal, and strange symbols were all mixed together into something that looked built, but also alive. It didn't spin or drift like wreckage. It just sat there, silent. Still. The same strange signal continued in the background. A slow pulse, like a heartbeat, now steady and louder. Lena adjusted the ship's scanners again. She had already checked, everything twice, but nothing made sense. The readings were broken, like the laws of space didn't work here. It's pulling us in, she said finally. Not fast. Just enough. We're drifting closer without using engines. Calder didn't reply. He knew, he could feel it too. He gave a short command. The ship's small drone was sent out again. It moved ahead, floating toward the large structure. The video feed was shaky at first, then cleared. The inside of the structure was full of long tunnels and strange lights. Pieces of old ships were stuck to the walls, melted into them. Some looked very old, some looked almost new. The drone turned a corner. For just a second, a shadow moved across the feed, fast and quiet. Then the signal cut off. The crew sat still. "I'm bringing it back," Lena said, trying to restart the drone. "It's gone," Calder said. "Leave it." Then they heard something new. A soft sound, like metal tapping. It echoed through the hallway. One of the crew, a man named Oren, looked up. "That's from inside the ship." Everyone froze. They followed the sound, walking slowly through the corridor. The lights above flickered as they moved. The tapping continued, not loud but steady, like someone knocking from far away. They reached the storage bay. The sound was coming from one of the sealed doors. Lena stepped forward. She unlocked the door carefully. It opened with a slow hiss. The room inside was empty, almost. On the floor was a small piece of metal, shaped like a star. It wasn't from their ship. It had markings on it. Alien language. Fresh scratches. It hadn't been there before. Lena picked it up. The metal was warm. Then the lights went out again. This time, it lasted longer. The crew stood in full darkness. Someone whispered a name. Someone else asked if they were alone. Then the screens came back on. But now they showed something else. Not maps. Not data. Faces. Dozens of faces, flickering in and out, alien and human, all looking straight ahead. Some had empty eyes. Some had no eyes at all. Some were crying. Others were just staring. And behind them, always, was the same darkness, the same shadow. The signal returned, faster now, more intense, boom, 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 boom. The ship's AI suddenly spoke in a voice that wasn't its own. "You hear it now, you feel it. This place remembers." Then silence again. Calder looked around the room. His crew waited for his order, but he said nothing at first. Then he spoke. "We're not backing out. We've come too far. Whatever this is, it's tied to all the ships that came before us, maybe even something older." No one argued. They were afraid, yes. But more than that, they needed to know the truth. They moved the ship closer to the structure. As they approached, the lights on the walls of the structure began to glow, slowly, then brighter. A path opened in front of them. The structure was inviting them in, and the horizon breaker accepted. As they entered the passage, the ship started to change. The walls shifted. The air grew heavy. The screens blinked with strange symbols. The crew's voices sounded softer, like they were speaking underwater. Lena touched a panel. Her eyes widened. "It's not reading us anymore," she whispered. "It's reading something else." Calder looked at the screen. It showed a new message. "Welcome back." But none of them had ever been here before. Or had they? They had no idea what waited deeper inside. But now they couldn't turn back. And something was already inside the ship. Inside their minds. Waking up. The horizon breaker drifted slowly into the glowing tunnel. The entrance to the strange structure opened like a mouth made from broken pieces of ships that didn't belong together. Every part of it seemed wrong. Shapes too smooth, angles too sharp, designs that looked both ancient and futuristic. Inside, the lights pulsed softly along the walls. Not electrical lights. These seemed organic, like veins glowing just under skin. The walls themselves looked like metal but moved ever so slightly as if breathing. Captain Calder Voss stood silent at the bridge. The crew behind him were alert but tense. The ship's system still worked, but their readings were confused. The sensors couldn't understand the structure around them. Time moved strangely. Signals looped back on themselves. Distance didn't measure the same way anymore. "We're inside, but I don't think we ever moved," said Lena, staring at her screen. "Our coordinates haven't changed, but the view clearly has." That was the first clue something deeper was happening, something not just physical. The ship floated forward through the tunnel, which curved like a giant spiral. As they moved, shapes passed by the windows. Some were clearly broken ships, alien, old, melted into the walls. Others were harder to describe. Strange towers, faces carved into steel, symbols that didn't belong to any known race. And eyes. Eyes without bodies, just staring from the metal. Then the hallway opened into a vast chamber. The chamber was enormous, too large to exist within what they had seen outside. It looked like a city buried inside the structure. Towers rose on, all sides, floating slightly above the floor, turning slowly in the air without engines or sound. Beams of blue light moved between them, like messages or memories traveling back and forth. In the center stood a large column. Not a machine, not a building, something in between. It glowed softly, with the same heartbeat rhythm that had followed them since they entered the zone. Boom, boom, boom. The ship came to a stop. "It's expecting us," Calder said. He didn't ask. He knew. The bridge lights dimmed, and then they heard a voice. It wasn't from the speakers. It wasn't outside the ship. It was in their minds, not loud, not painful, just calm, slow, and full of something impossible to name. "You are not like the others." Everyone froze. Lena touched her head, eyes wide. "Did you all hear that?" They all had. Many came. The voice said again. "None returned, but you are different." The crew looked to Calder. His face stayed calm, but inside he felt a weight pressing on his thoughts. "Why are you speaking to us?" he asked aloud. The voice didn't answer. Instead, the screens on the ship lit up again. This time, they showed something unexpected. Earth, human cities, ships from human history, faces of people who had lived, fought, and died, including faces of people long gone. Some the crew recognized, some they didn't, and one that Calder did. His brother. His brother had died 10 years ago in a battle near Jupiter. His face appeared now, looking at him, calm and unblinking. "Impossible," Calder whispered. The voice returned. "Memories are not yours alone. We collect. We remember." The lights in the chamber pulsed faster. Lena turned to Calder. "It's reading us, not just systems. It's reading us, our thoughts, our memories." "Why?" someone asked. The answer came in a whisper through the ship. "To understand." The ship shook lightly, not from impact, but from something deeper. The air became thick, warm, full of something unseen. Then the ship lights shifted, not dimming, but changing color. A soft gold filled the bridge, and the walls seemed farther away than before. Calder felt his balance shift even though he hadn't moved. It was like space itself was stretching. The crew's voices grew faint, like they were farther away from each other than before, though they stood only steps apart. And then they saw it. From the center column, something rose. A shape, not fully physical, not fully light. A figure, tall, flowing, made of motion and memory. Its form kept changing. Sometimes it looked human, sometimes not. Its face shifted between expressions the crew could barely recognize. Calm. Sad. Curious. It didn't speak with words, but they understood it anyway. "You are not prey," it said. "You are echo." Lena stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the being. "What are you?" The answer came like a soft wave. "I am not one. I am many. I am the voice of the forgotten, the shape of what remains." It turned to Calder. "You come not for war. You come for truth." Calder nodded slowly. "Yes." The figure lowered its head. "Then walk further." See what was. Know what? Waits. The lights around the chamber formed a path stretching deep into the structure. Slowly it began to open again, a door to the heart of the zone. But behind them, the ship began to hum. Its systems lit up on their own. New paths opened. On the maps, paths they didn't program. Coordinates appeared, a name flashed on the screen. Home? Lena looked at Calder. It wants to show us something. He looked back at the chamber. Then let's follow. They didn't know yet what waited in the next chamber. But they all felt it. It was not just memory. It was a beginning. Or maybe an end. The golden path stretched out before them, soft lights glowing beneath each step like it recognized where they were meant to go. The structure felt less like a machine now and more like a place that remembered. It responded not to commands, but to thoughts, to emotions. Captain Calder Voss led the way, his steps slow and steady, though the air around him felt heavier with each movement. The others followed without speaking, each one caught in a silence that wasn't fear, but something else. A quiet knowing that they were crossing into something far older than their species, something waiting. The passage took them deeper into the structure. Around them, the walls displayed shifting images, not still pictures, but living memories. They walked past scenes that hovered in the air like glass. A tall alien figure standing before a council, stars behind them, speaking in a voice that could not be heard but still felt. A ship, very different from theirs, entering the same structure, hundreds of years earlier. Its crew looked hopeful, then confused, a child floating in zero gravity, laughing, reaching out, until the scene dissolved. Lena slowed down to watch one of the memories longer, but as she did, it changed. The face of the alien child blurred and reshaped into a human one. It's using us to complete the images, she whispered. It's filling gaps from what it reads inside our minds. The deeper they went, the less the structure felt alien. It began to feel familiar, like walking through the halls of a dream they'd forgotten but had once lived. Finally, the corridor opened into another chamber. It was circular, domed, and impossibly wide. In the center was a platform, and above it floated a sphere of shifting light and shadow. It pulsed slowly, the same heartbeat they'd felt since entering the dead zone, but this time the pulse matched their own. Each crew member felt it in their chest. Thump, thump. Not just a signal, a connection. Calder stepped toward it, but before he could speak, the sphere reacted. It split open, showing images that weren't memories, but possibilities. Futures. The crew watched as scenes played before them, a human fleet arriving too late, searching through wreckage. A world scorched and silent, its people gone. A meeting between species never meant to meet, ending in silence. And then, something else. A version of their ship exiting the structure. Whole. Changed. Carrying not just data, but something glowing within its core. Not technology, but understanding. The voice returned. Your kind seeks to conquer, to protect, to survive. But few seek to listen. Calder looked into the sphere. Then tell us what you want us to know. The voice did not answer directly. Instead, the chamber itself began to shift. The walls turned transparent, and beyond them, stars. Not the ones they knew, not the galaxy they came from. This was something else, a different space, a place out of time. You are not the first, the voice said gently, but you may be the last who asks. The sphere pulsed again. A soft breeze swept through the chamber, though there was no air source. Images flickered once more. An ancient race, now gone, placing memory into metal. Their last message, not a warning, but a question. One no one answered, until now. Lena stepped beside Calder. Her voice was quiet, steady. It's not just showing us history, it's offering a choice. Calder nodded. He finally understood. This wasn't a trap. The dead zone wasn't here to destroy. It was here to remember, to preserve, to test. And now it was offering them the chance to leave, or go even deeper. The chamber dimmed. The light narrowed to a single path ahead. A smaller doorway opened, dark and quiet. No more images, no more memories. Just space. Beyond that space, Calder felt, was the true heart of the zone. What's in there? One crew member whispered. No one answered, because the answer they knew was not something that could be told. It had to be lived. And as Calder took the first step through that final doorway, the structure whispered a final thought. Not all who vanish are lost. They had not reached the end. They had reached the choice. The passage ahead was narrow, smooth, and strangely quiet. No more glowing lights guided them now. No memory images floated on the walls. Even the soft hum of the structure had faded. It felt like stepping into a space untouched for a very long time. Captain Caldervoss paused at the threshold. Behind him, Lena and the others waited in silence, their faces lit only by the soft blue light from the ship behind them. The doorway ahead looked like a simple arch, carved from black stone, but it gave off no light, no sound. Yet, it called, to them, not with words, but with feeling. As Calder stepped through, something shifted. A weight lifted. A stillness fell over him. And when the rest followed, the same change touched them too. The room inside was unlike the others. It was open, vast and filled with floating shapes, like sculptures made of mist and memory. Each shape flickered softly, forming and reforming, never the same for more than a second. They didn't show clear images, but feelings, peace, loss, wonder, hope. It was overwhelming. Some of the crew stepped back, their minds flooded by the sensations. This place isn't for watching, Lena said almost in a whisper. It's for feeling. They moved carefully between the shapes, drawn to the center where a smooth platform waited. As they reached it, the floating mist gathered and for the first time formed something clear. A table. Around it 7 chairs, one for each of them. No voice spoke this time. No machine moved. But somehow they knew. They were being asked to sit. One by one, they did. As soon as they sat, the room faded. Not in darkness, but into light. Bright, soft, and endless. They were no longer in the structure. They were standing on a field under a white sky, surrounded by gentle hills and a distant breeze. But it wasn't real. Not truly. It was a shared mind space, a place built by the zone to connect with them, and waiting in the middle was a figure, simple in form, quiet in presence. Not alien, not human, but something in between. It didn't speak. It waited. Calder stepped forward. Why have you shown us all this? The figure raised a hand and the field shifted. Now they stood above a galaxy watching time speed forward. Civilizations rose and fell, lights blinked on and off across star systems. Ships traveled, empires expanded, then faded. And always, silence after. Because it repeats, the figure finally said. Its voice was soft, like wind through leaves. Always the same. They come. They grow. They forget. Images flashed, not of war but of silence. Abandoned worlds. Lost knowledge, empty cities floating in space. No one means to forget, the figure continued. But they do. The noise grows, the silence follows. Lena stepped beside Calder. And this place, the dead zone, it's not death. It's memory. The figure nodded. We gather what is lost. We hold it, so it is not forgotten. You are the first who came not to take, but to understand. The field shifted again. This time Earth appeared in the distance. Not as it was now, but as it could be. Peaceful, united, watching the stars not with fear, but with curiosity. Then the scene changed once more. The horizon breaker, leaving the structure, carrying not weapons, not secrets, but a seed, small, glowing, alive. "What is it?" Orin asked. The figure looked at them. "Hope. If you choose to carry it." The vision faded. The room returned. The floating shapes dissolved. Only the table and the 7 chairs remained. The figure slowly stepped back, its shape becoming mist once more, and one final message echoed in all their minds. "You may leave, but what you carry will grow. If you protect it, so will your people. If you forget, it will return here, as all things do." The path behind them lit up again, leading back to their ship. No pressure, no command, just a choice. Calder looked around at his crew. Each of them had seen something different. Each had felt something personal. But they all shared the same quiet truth. They had come for answers, but what they were leaving with was a responsibility. And as they turned back toward the ship, the heartbeat signal faded, not because it had stopped, but because it had become a part of them. The return to the horizon breaker felt strangely quiet, though the ship welcomed them with soft lights and the familiar low hum of its systems. No alarms, no interference. The structure, this ancient space filled with memory and intention, had stopped watching. Or maybe it had begun trusting. As Captain Calder Voss stepped back onto the bridge, he paused. Something was different. The controls were unchanged, the screens normal. But there was a new clarity, as if the ship itself had been waiting for this moment. The journey into the heart of the zone had not just affected the crew, it had touched everything. Lena ran a full diagnostic. Everything's stable, better than stable. Some systems are running smoother than before. It's like they've been updated. Orin frowned, scanning the nav systems. That's not possible. We didn't install anything. But there it was. New data, cleanly embedded into the ship's core. Not invasive, not hidden. Just present. Coordinates, knowledge, unfamiliar energy signatures, and something else. Something not meant for understanding, but for feeling. Calder tapped the console. "Set a return course. Let's see if the zone lets us leave." The ship turned, slowly aligning with the exit route. The same strange tunnel they'd entered through. But this time the path felt clearer, less resistance. The mist-like energy had softened, forming a subtle current like a river guiding them home. As they moved through the tunnel, the strange architecture flickered around them again. But now, instead of broken wreckage and forgotten memories, they saw shapes of light moving alongside, like echoes of ships long gone, now simply watching, not warning. When they finally passed the outer edge of the zone, the crew stared at the stars outside. Familiar constellations blinked back into view. Communications came online again. The galaxy had moved on while they were inside, but not by much. Only a few hours had passed, but inside the ship, everything had changed. "What now?" Lena asked, quietly, turning toward Calder. Before he could answer, the ship's systems pulsed gently and displayed a single word on the main screen. "Remember." The meaning was simple. The choice had been made. They had entered to search. They had returned, carrying something more important than data. A kind of key, not physical, not digital. A quiet connection between what had been forgotten and what still remained. The days that followed were strange. As they re-entered known space, the horizon breaker was met with disbelief. Other human ships, orbiting the edge of the dead zone, had detected them emerging. No other vessel had ever returned. Stories spread quickly. When Calder and his crew reported what they'd seen, there were mixed reactions. Some believed, others doubted. A few feared the unknown. But the crew knew the truth didn't need proving, because the change wasn't in their story. It was in them. The crew began to dream things they couldn't explain, images of peaceful worlds, of silent cities waiting to be awakened, of a future, not built on power, but on understanding. The sphere they had seen inside the chamber, the seed of hope, was no longer just a vision. It had taken root inside each of them. and quietly, their presence began to influence others. New protocols were written. Exploration teams were formed not just to map, but to listen. The word dead zone began to fade from official reports. A new term took its place, one whispered first on deep space channels and then spoken aloud: the listening field. Because it wasn't lifeless. It wasn't empty. It had just been waiting for someone to come, not with questions, but with humility, waiting for someone to hear. And now across human space, stories began to change. Not of battles or vanished fleets, but of a single crew who entered the unknown and returned not with victory, but with something deeper. A message. One, not meant for today or even tomorrow, but for the kind of future that remembers.